Unique passenger power. Let's take a look at this new model from Broadway Limited. Hi, I'm Dan Cortopassi. Today I'm reviewing an HS scale Union Pacific power car from Broadway Limited. My model is decorated in Union Pacific yellow and gray. Broadway Limited offers this car in two detail variations with and without a roof antenna. It also offers each variation with and without sound. The MSRP for the non-sound versions is $119.99. The MSRP for the sound-equipped versions is $149.99. I paid $101.99 for my non-sound model from Factory Direct Hobbies. We'll start the model at 100 possible points. The car comes in a cardboard box with a clear plastic window. A plastic cradle protects the model. A sheet of thin plastic film helps to protect the car's paint job. Also inside the box is a bag with some small parts, exploded view drawings, and instructions for operating the lights. This is a good box that should protect the model for storage and transport. Union Pacific Power Car 2066 was originally built in 1960 by St. Louis Car Company as postal storage car UP 5816. In 1972, it was put in maintenance of way service as a Roadway Tool Car and assigned number UP 903677. In 2004, the car was rebuilt into a power car and assigned the road number UPP 2066 as part of UP's heritage fleet. 2066 was built to supply power for trains up to 18 cars long. Before it entered service, UP would sometimes use two power cars for trains that long. The car has a roof bulge with locomotive-style cooling fans to dissipate heat from the two diesel engines that are used to generate power. In addition, the car has a control room, commissary storage, and a bedroom for the electrician responsible for keeping the car running. I compared the model to photos of the real UP 2066 that I found online. Overall, the model looks to be a very close match. Photos suggest that the rooftop antenna was added sometime after 2009. The only discrepancies I spotted are in the underbody details. Photos show that some of the boxy underbody components on one side of the car have changed over time. Some photos show none, some show two, and the most recent photos show 3 as on the model. Since the photos suggest that some of these components are periodically rearranged by UP, I'm going to give the model the benefit of the doubt. If you're shooting to model a specific year with exact details, you might want to collect photos and modify the underbody accordingly. The paint on the car is opaque and thin enough not to obscure rivets and other small details, and the markings are crisp and free of voids. The windows are flush-fitting and have thin gasket detail around the edges. None of the doors are openable. At the corners, the grab irons are separately applied wire pieces, and the stirrup steps are nicely rendered. On the ends, the car has more separately applied grab irons. The B end has a brake wheel. The modern-style diaphragms are made of hard plastic and are not sprung. When coupled to my Broadway Limited Kenefic UP business car, which has the same diaphragms, there's quite a large gap between them. The power car looks better coupled to one of my Walthers UP Heritage Fleet cars. There are no uncoupling levers or air hoses installed, probably because of the coupler pocket design that allows for extreme side-to-side motion. Uncoupling levers and hoses are included in the parts bag, along with a filler piece to plug the huge gap around the coupler pocket. I'm really puzzled by Broadway's design choice here. The Kenefic has conventional coupler pockets and still claims to be able to operate on an 18-inch radius. The extreme coupler swing seems toy-like on an otherwise prototypical model with high-end detail. I'm going to put a bookmark in this one for the moment. On top, the bulge part of the roof has a pair of fans with individual blade detail under see-through grills. The other grills aren't see-through, but the paint treatment helps to give them the illusion of depth. There are ridges running along the roof that look like they might be some kind of conduit. These are molded on, which I also think is a disappointment on a high-end car. The conduit and the toy-like coupler pockets are a miss on a car at this price level, so I'm taking 5 points for both. The lower part of the roof has more details, many of which look to be separate parts. Underneath there are a lot of components, but like the Kenefic, there's not much in the way of plumbing. Detail here is short of what you'd see on a Rapido or similar car. Even so, I think there's enough here for the model to look pretty good while it's sitting on the track. The bottom of what I assume is the fuel tank has slots for a speaker. The wheels are metal with the standard RP25 tread profile mounted on plastic axles. All the wheels pick up current. The car has metal knuckle couplers on both ends mounted to a swinging draft gearbox. Looking for a match on the horizontal center line, the coupler on the end with the bulge is close enough to call it good. The coupler on the other end is high, so I'm taking 5 points. All the wheels are in gauge according to the NMRA standards gauge. There is no significant body wobble. The car weighs 7.5 ounces, over the 6.75 ounce NMRA recommended weight for a car of this length. I think a little extra weight is a good thing to help the car track better. The car is reasonably free rolling. The BLI website says the minimum recommended radius for this car is 18 inches. I don't have any curves that sharp to test it on. The car works on Kato 550mm curves, which are equivalent to a 21 5/8 inch radius. It looks like the car uncoupled when I reverse direction. I've hooked it back up. Let's try again. Seems okay now. It also works when coupled to a Walthers passenger car, though the diaphragms are touching. Long cars like this generally look and work better on broader curves. I personally wouldn't recommend trying to run this car in an 18-inch radius. So it's a little tricky to try to show the lights on video with this car. I've had to shoot this several times now. Hopefully this one will work. If you touch the roof a couple inches behind the dome, the lights will go on and off. There it is. It's right about where these vents are. Also, you can hold it and it'll slowly bring them up and then dim them, so you can have them on, dim if you want to. So it's pretty simple. That's all there is to it. I don't think the car has any other lights in it, so it's just that. This is on DCC, by the way, which is a constant track voltage. Now I have it out on DC track, and the lights come on at about 1/4 throttle. I'm not sure what the track voltage is. I don't have a voltmeter, but it does take a little bit of voltage to get them going. I'm not seeing any change as I advance the throttle, so it looks like it must have some kind of a constant brightness circuit in it. And the same thing if you hit the roof, it toggles it on and off. The one nice thing is if it's on and you stop the train and it goes off, it'll go on again when you reapply voltage. So that's kind of cool. You don't have to keep touching the car, every time you stop the train. So not only do these couplers have a lot of swing because the entire mount moves, there's not actually a conventional draft gearbox here. The coupler is just screwed rigidly onto this plastic piece that's sprung internally, so the whole thing moves, but the coupler doesn't move relative to the box. In a normal draft gearbox, the coupler is free to swivel side to side, but that's not the case here. Well, I usually like to put Cadies on the cars. Let's see if I can do it on this one. Unscrew the stock coupler. It doesn't want to come out, so I'm going to have to try to pry it. I wasn't able to pry the coupler out, so I'm going to remove the screws that hold the stirrups on and see if I can take this piece off. It wants to come out. So aside from the tight fit, part of the reason that's so difficult is there's actually a tab here that holds the rear of the coupler. The coupler on the top is the stock coupler, and the one down below is a KD58. They have the same shank design, so I think I can substitute the KD into the original coupler holder. I'm really starting to dislike this coupler box design. I did manage to get the KD in there, but it was just as hard to put in as it was to take the old one out, which I think is way too much work. Well, that was kind of a pain, but I did get KDs on both ends, and somehow they actually ended up at the right height. The one that was at the wrong height fixed itself somehow. I'm not sure because I didn't really do anything, but I'll take it because it's less work. If you want to remove the floor, they say to take the end screws out anyway, like I took the end pieces off to get the couplers. So then you can spread the ends of the car and lift up, and then the floor should come out. Yeah. So with the body off, you can see there is a bit of an interior in here. It's not detailed really, but You know, for a car like this, it's probably adequate. You could always, you know, add stuff in here if you wanted to, although none of it really shows that much from the outside anyway. So, but at least, you know, you can definitely access the car. And I guess if you didn't have the sound version, like I didn't get the sound version, if you wanted to add a sound decoder, there's plenty of room to do that. This is what was in the parts bag. There's 2 filler pieces, 3 hoses, I guess there's 1 extra, and then 2 uncoupling levers. So there aren't any instructions, and it took me a little bit of time to figure out how this is all supposed to go together with these extra parts. So this filler piece has 2 little projections on the top, and there's a couple of corresponding indents in the car floor that those fit into. And then there's a hole in it, and this goes on the uncoupling lever side. This is one of 2 holes that holds the uncoupling lever. The indents in the car floor that I was talking about are here and here. So I inserted the piece on the other end like this. I did one off camera so I could hopefully look like I knew what I was doing. And it kind of fits in there like that. I didn't glue it, but I may go back later and use some canopy glue or something just to hold it in place. I'm sorry, I know this is all a little hard to see. There's a little hole in the car floor right here, and that's where the hose goes. It really helps to have some needle nose pliers or something to do this, but you got to kind of push it into the hole. And it's better to push from the base, like with pliers, rather than trying to push from up here, because it's just plastic and it tends to bend a lot. I'm going to do this off camera because I don't know how to do this and film it without my hand being in the way, but there's, now that the piece is in, there's a hole here and a hole here, and there's 2 prongs on the uncoupling lever that fit in there, so it's just a press fit. So if you can see this, the hose is actually extended down below the railhead, so I can't leave these on here. You can't operate the car with it like that. It'll catch on anything, you know, and everything that way. This is a really, really bad design. This is the finished end with the filler piece and the uncoupling lever attached. This does fall off, so if I want to keep this on here, I'm definitely going to have to use some canopy glue or something to hold it. Another thing is that the car went from having excessive coupler swing to very little coupler swing. And that piece just fell out. Okay, I don't often do this, but the whole coupler and end detail design on this car is awful. Broadway would have been better off using conventional coupler pockets like on the Kennefic. I really don't understand the choice here. Given how difficult this is to work on and how impractical the end details are to actually use, I'm taking an additional 10 points. I think overall this is a pretty nice model. One thing I didn't mention in the review that I like is that the paint color actually not only matches the BLI Kennefic car that I have, but also the other Walthers cars that Walthers put out for the Heritage Fleet. So if you're trying to put together a modern excursion train for UP, this car would be a great addition. It's also would be a kind of a hard kit bash to build one of these from scratch, or by trying to cobble together pieces from other models. So it's really cool that Broadway did this. I do have some reservations about the coupler pocket design, as I mentioned during the review. One thing I'll say about that, though, is that as far as the details being visible, this is the kind of car that's typically going to be somewhere in the train, usually toward the front, I think, if I recall from what I've seen of it. So it's probably going to be either between the locomotive and other cars, or somewhere between other passenger cars. So it's not going to be as noticeable that the coupler pockets are a little strange. So there is that. I do have to be fair about that. Like I said, overall I think this is a pretty good model, and it's a great way to complete my Union Pacific Heritage Fleet train. Let's see what we've got. Some of the details and design choices seem toy-like for a car in this price range, so I took 5 points in the paint and detail category. One coupler was at the wrong height, so I took 5 points in the standards and operation category. The car's poor coupler and end design makes it difficult to work on or use the supplied end details, so I took 10 points in the rip track category. That leaves us with 80 out of 100 possible points, which earns a B-. Overall, this is still a fairly good model. I'm giving it a green signal. Broadway Limited did a nice job on this car. If you need one of these to round out your HO scale Union Pacific Heritage Fleet collection, then I think you might like it. If you like this video, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching.